It's a little odd to think that with the hundreds of modded characters taken from dozens of franchises in SRB2, there really aren't many character mods based off the enemies already in the game. I admit I don't know how common that sort of thing is. I'm not a part of any other modding scene, so maybe that's kind of rare, but it seems like the obvious first choice to adapt an enemy from the game, seeing as how you don't need to make your own sprites or think particularly hard about a moveset. That being said, you'd assume the enemies chosen would be some of the more iconic and recognisable from the game, like the Crawlers, the Lancerbot, or maybe the Terabyte, considering how often newcomers complain about them. You wouldn't expect the enemies chosen to be the sentient bomb that only appears in one section of one act, the unremarkable ranged enemy that you barely even see face to face, or the character we'll be covering today, who only appears in a bonus level, the Penguinator. But what kind of moveset can you possibly give the Penguinator, you may be asking? Its only behaviours are to slowly waddle around and occasionally dodge the player. Well, for the most part, that's exactly what the playable character does as well. Your main gimmicks are your several levels of dash mode, because you have both an actual dash mode and a just sort of dash mode. Reaching your normal top speed will cause the Penguinator to go into their usual belly skidding posture, which allows you to destroy spikes, walls, monitors and enemies, as well as run on water, but without the usual speed boost of a dash mode. That comes after a few further seconds, at which point you'll be enveloped in a giant orange orb and finally get that extra speed. Plus you keep all the control over your direction that dash mode usually takes away. Doesn't help me because I'm still inaccurate and barely able to handle turtling at the best of times, but it's worth pointing out. But if you want to skip all of this tedious building up momentum or making sure you're able to maintain that increased speed over an extended period of time, you can also reach that level of dash mode by fully charging your spin dash to its maximum 7 levels, with the other 6 levels building up to proportionately lower speeds. Penguinator also has the ability to press spin in air to cancel his momentum and drop fire on his enemies, although this doesn't work underwater, and can infinitely jump underwater to give the illusion of being able to swim. I feel Penguinator should also probably not require air if they can do this, but that's still a factor you need to consider in zones like Deep Sea and Outdoor Temple. Sprites wise, Penguinator is unsurprising in that all of the sprites seem to just be their original enemy sprites. You can decide whether that's lazy or justified, but it obviously means that Penguinator will fit right in with the original vanilla art style. There are still an extra few things I actively like and dislike about the sprites though. His dash mode covering isn't the nicest, looking pretty unnatural compared to say Metal Sonic's 1, and that's a sentiment I also share with the dropping fire ability, as each individual flame is just an individual sprite and it just doesn't look the best. However, I do think the traffic light charge indicator does look pretty good, and is definitely an improvement over the homing attack indicator he used to use. I also think it's pretty funny that he releases an animal every time he dies, and the little wiggling feet he has while swimming are very cute, so 10 out of 10 on that front. Penguinator is apparently the creator Shanon's first mod, so I can overlook some of the more rough and unpolished things like some of the sprites being pretty ugly. That being said, Penguinator is a perfectly fine mod, and pretty good for a first attempt, with a moveset that's pretty basic but still fairly fun. It's pretty much the definition of a fine, completely serviceable mod that doesn't really shake the boat too much, and for that, I'll give it a 6 out of 10. I hope you enjoyed the video, and ciao.